It's your girl, the Grown Woman Gamer, coming back at you with another fire commentary. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, comment, and let me know what your thoughts are on the topic I'm going to be discussing today, which is the Houston Rockets. So, a couple days ago, I watched the Houston Rockets play the Los Angeles Lakers, and I was excited for this game. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a huge basketball fan. I am unapologetic. I'm also a huge LeBron James fan. And I love to see him go up against another powerhouse like James Harden and definitely Russell Westbrook. I knew this was going to be a good game. I honestly thought that the Rockets were going to bring their A game and that it would be competitive. Who knows how games like that will turn out, especially with players like that. If they get streaky, it could either be a blowout or 9 times out of 10 it's going to be kind of competitive and interesting. In the first half, it looked like the Houston Rockets were doing pretty well, and they had the upper hand. And this was due in large part to the offense that Russell Westbrook was giving the team. And then in the second half, things really fell apart defensively for the Houston Rockets, and they ended up losing to the Lakers. LeBron James had a wonderful game. People were kind of making light of the fact that when he went to the free throw line and the crowd was chanting MVP, they were chanting louder than when they were for their own player because they were playing in Houston. And so this kind of made me think about a conversation I've been having with a friend regarding what the Houston Rockets need to do in order to take their team to the next level. So the glaring thing is that defense on that team is extremely poor. If you look at a lot of their defensive sequences, you see that the Rockets actually get out of the way of players that are going to the basket. I mean, I have never in all my years, I played basketball for damn near 20 years. Then I've watched basketball religiously since I was like 7 years old, and they literally get out of the way of players that are going to the basket. I've never seen anything like it. Actually, that's not true. I take that back. I have seen something like that when certain players like Shaq were going to the basket. In order to avoid injury, if they knew that their centers and their forwards just were not strong enough to get in his way, they would tell them to get out of the way to avoid injury. Players like LeBron James, these people are extremely strong. Embiid, there's no reason to risk injury in a normal defensive sequence going up against a player that is that strong, but they get out of the way of everyone. I mean, it could be a player who's 110 pounds soaking wet, and Capella and the other forwards will move out of the way. So I wonder, I mean, it almost looks intentional. So I was like thinking, are they throwing games to try to secure a certain position in the playoffs? Because for what it's worth, even with the struggles that they've had in this most recent stint, I think they have like a 4-game losing streak. They are going to go to the playoffs. They are a top 8 team in the West. The playoffs are kind of a foregone conclusion for them. So I just am thinking, like, why are they doing this? But then after the game, their body language and their responses in the post-game interviews is kind of nonchalant. It does not appear that they are concerned with the fact that there's some really glaring holes. And I've seen them attempt to win against certain teams like Dallas and lose due to primarily the struggles they have on defense. So there are a few things that I think that they can do, and some are extreme, some are less extreme. The first thing that I think they can do before the trade deadline that will help them, and I know this is controversial, but I think they need to trade Russell Westbrook and Clint Capella for Andre Drummond, an injured Blake Griffin, which the Detroit Pistons will be happy to throw in because dude can't stay healthy, it seems like, for more than 2 months at a time, and Derrick Rose. The reason why I think that these 3 players would be so dope on the Houston Rockets is because Andre Drummond has more rebounds. He averages more rebounds than any other player in the NBA, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but last month when I checked the stats, that was the case. He can play offense. He's huge, strong, and young. He's only like 25 years old. And he's extremely challenging to other teams on the defensive end of the floor. Secondly, Derrick Rose, why I think he would be a better fit for the Rockets than Russell Westbrook or even Chris Paul. Derrick Rose is one of the most, I won't use the word athletic because originally athletic would have been the word to describe him, but he's one of the most kind of well-rounded point guards in the NBA. And when I say well-rounded, he does not necessarily have the level of basketball IQ of a Chris Paul. He doesn't have the athleticism of a Trae Young. He doesn't have the jump shot of a Stephen Curry, but he does everything above average. So he's above average shooting, and he is very kind of smart about his shot choices. So he's not like Russell Westbrook. He's not going to just heave up 10 threes and hope that they go in. He plays defense well enough. He has great court vision. He knows how to get his teammates involved, and he does take on, by virtue of his work ethic and the way he approaches the game, a more of a leadership role in getting guys involved. So if you watch an offense where Derrick Rose is involved, there's going to be a lot of motion. People are expecting to get the ball from him when they're open, and that creates more of a challenge for the other team as well, which I'm going to get to that second. And I really kind of think that Russell Westbrook is, I'm not going to say he's a one-trick pony, because I honestly think Russell Westbrook is a future Hall of Famer. He's one of the best athletic finishers at the rim from the point guard position. Sometimes he has a shot. More often than not, he doesn't. But when he does get his shot, he's a little streaky there. And he has the will of a champion within him, but the framework for winning, that gamesmanship and the basketball IQ that it takes to win a championship, so far, Russell Westbrook has never exhibited that. And he also does have a leadership style that doesn't seem to work. If you look at people, they say his teammates love him. I'm sure that they do, because I'm sure that people can respect a person who works hard, shows up, gives their all every night, and is encouraging their teammates, at least to some degree. But when you are talking about winning an NBA championship in the modern era, at the end of the day, it does boil down to a great deal more than athleticism. It comes down to more than who can shoot the three the best. It's about a combination of coaching, leadership, and intelligence around basketball, because it's chess, it's not checkers. So I don't think that you can pair two players like Harden and Westbrook together and think that all of a sudden, magically, this team is going to go up against teams that are being extremely more thoughtful in the way that they strategize and approach these basketball games. So on the defensive end, they are so poor. Clint Capella, I mean, God bless him, but he's pudding. Like, I just don't understand how they expect that a center like him is going to be able to go up against a team like the Lakers that has some journeyman, dirty working centers like JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, and Anthony Davis. I mean, they will decimate him. They beat them without Anthony Davis, using their second and third string centers. So the fact that that's what they're up against Giannis, they're up against Embiid. If whoever makes it through on the East side, they would get lucky if they ended up going up against Boston. But I honestly don't think Boston's going to be able to get through the Bucks, and I don't think Boston's going to be able to get through a 7-game series with the 76ers with the team that they have. They have a better chance with the 76ers, but we'll see. I mean, I'm kind of getting off on a tangent, but so that's the first thing. Defense has to shift. I'm sorry, it's not there. And I blame the coaches. I don't blame the players, because coaches are the ones who put their foot on the neck of the players to say, hey, you guys have to play defense. We have to do better. You have to have a strategy. You have to understand your opponent, and you have to be prepared, and you have to be willing to expend the energy on the defensive side of the ball in order to get stops. So that part, I think they could solve by making that particular trade. And then let's talk about their offense. So obviously, James Harden is one of the most prolific and amazing scorers that has ever touched the rock. But we have had many players like him who are amazing offensively, but they really have not been able to win a championship. And that goes back to what I said about what it takes to win an NBA championship. When you watch their offense, and I've seen the Houston Rockets play it live and in person twice. I went to see them play the Minnesota Timberwolves, and I've also seen them play the Golden State Warriors in last year's playoffs. They are extremely stagnant on the offensive side. And I know that people might challenge me on this because James Harden is scoring so often. And so how can they be stagnant if he's getting 60 points or 50 points and triple doubles and double doubles and all this stuff? But when you watch them, essentially you have one player who's playing ISO basketball at the top of the key or at the 3-point line, and one player who is maybe moving, and more often than not 4 players watching him. They might as well be sitting in the stands with popcorn and a beer because they are not moving. So what happens when you have a basketball game and you have players who are standing around? Number one, the defense gets to rest. So the other team is sitting there chilling, resting, taking a spa day, while one player is tasked with trying to stop Harden. And that means that when they go back on offense, they're good to go. They've caught their breath. They can run you into the ground on the other side. So that makes it even more ludicrous that the Houston Rockets don't play defense, because nobody's running around or moving on the offensive side besides James Harden. Okay, so if you have a stagnant basketball team, there's no ball movement, which means the other team doesn't have to move around and expend energy, which makes it, when you have a team like that, that's the reason why the Golden State Warriors were so damn good. It was because of the fact that their ball movement was so good. Stephen Curry was constantly cutting and running and picks and this and that. By the time you got to the other side and it was time for you to set up your offense, you were exhausted. And every time they shot that three and it was some ridiculous circus shot, it just took the wind out of people's sails. It was demoralizing. How come we can't guard this 6'3" dude who is shooting from Mars? So if you have that type of ball movement, if everyone, or at least 3 out of the 5 players, are an offensive threat, especially around the perimeter, if you have a strong center who is kind of backing people down, who's making it hard for people, that will basically wear you down. So they need that. They don't have that. And so the other really extreme thing that I would suggest is that they potentially consider trading James Harden. I know. Who would trade James Harden? James Harden can score on average somewhere between 30 and 40 points a night. But if you have a James Harden, and he has to be the leader because people are looking to him to lead, and he's basically got an audience of 4 on the offensive side of the ball and an audience of 4 on the defensive side of the ball, it's not going to be, in this modern era of basketball, a strategy that will get them past maybe the second round of the playoffs. So those are my thoughts. I have watched this team in person and on television for the last several years. I mean, I've been watching Harden, Westbrook, and Durant since the OKC years. And I'm not saying any of this to be insulting to these players, because I got mad love for all the players, even though I'm a proud Bronsexual, like I said. But from a basketball strategy side of things, just watching basketball for as many decades as I have, I just honestly don't think that this will work. Maybe they'll prove me wrong and so be it. Or maybe they have some type of ulterior motive. Maybe their form of load management is just not playing defense. But at any rate, those are my thoughts. I hope that everyone enjoyed this commentary. I would love to get your feedback. If you disagree with me, let me know what you're thinking. And I hope everyone's having a great day. I'm going to be doing more commentaries as we get into the second half of the season. And don't forget to join my live streams. I'm playing video games, and we can talk about all this and more. Thank you so much. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.